So in this week's video, I'm going to be explaining exactly what you need to start making your own music. It's so much less than you think. I'm going to be providing examples and really hopefully giving you that little boost that you need to be able to say, right, either I've got the stuff I need or I can easily get the stuff I need and give you some points to focus on to really make the most of it. I'm excited for this one. Let's do it. How's it going, guys? It's John Holt here with The Audio Journey, helping make music production accessible to all. And here on this channel, what I do is a variety of music production tutorials, mainly focused towards beginners and beyond. So if that's something that you might be interested in, then definitely consider subscribing. Now, this week's video, as I say, I'm really excited about the topic. I'm going to be sharing 4 things, plus a bonus thing, that you need to have to start making your own music. And it's so much less than you think, as I say, so let's get into the content. First things first is a computer. So most of you are going to have one of these already. It doesn't matter whether it's Windows, whether it's Mac, whether it's Linux, whatever it is. Even an iPad you can start making music on. I'd recommend a laptop or a desktop over that. But as long as you've got a fairly decent spec, so I would say an i5 processor from Intel is the base that you really want to be aiming for in terms of a processor. In terms of RAM, say 4 gig upwards, preferably 8. And don't worry if these are all going over your head a little bit. When you're looking at a laptop or on your own laptop, you'll be able to find these specs out really quite easily. And these are just good benchmarks to aim for. And then all the storage you need is just basically, that's determined by loads of other stuff. But as long as you've got a couple 100 gig, you're going to be sorted. Now, if you've got an old, slow, sluggish computer, then there's loads of tools out there that can help you clean that out. A quick YouTube search is going to really help you there. And if you need to invest in a new one, invest in a new one. It's not just going to be for music production that it's going to be useful. It's going to be all areas of your life, maybe your work. It's maybe nice to treat yourself and say, right, I'm getting this, and maybe it will help with the commitment. I know I do that with exercise. I buy myself a running watch in the hope that I will go running. That's not gone particularly well, but you know what I mean? If you buy something, I've definitely done it in the past. I've bought a new pair of trainers and just entered a race, and it's made me commit to doing it. So maybe that's something that you could do with a laptop or a computer with music production. Now, number 2 is software. So once you've got a computer that's good enough to run a piece of software, the piece of software that you need is called a digital audio workstation, DAW, or DAW as it's abbreviated down to. And essentially, that's just a piece of software that you can record music into and then edit that music in, just a music making piece of software. There's loads out there: Ableton, Pro Tools, GarageBand, depending on whether you're on Mac or PC. I've got a video up here on either side, which is going to help you choose a piece of software that's right for you. But I'm going to explain something to you now called the £300 or the $300 rule when it comes to software and plugins. That's kind of a rule of thumb that I think is a really good one to stick to for beginners. So my recommendation is that you spend around £300 or $300 on software. And the reason that I say that is because if you do spend £300 on something like Cubase or something like Ableton, then the bits that you get included with it are absolutely everything that you need to get started. If you chose to go for something like maybe Cubase Elements, which I've got some videos coming on soon, which is about £60 to £80, you're going to have some really good stuff in there, but it's probably not going to be absolutely everything that you need. You're probably still going to find yourself needing maybe a better delay plugin or a better reverb plugin, better EQ or a better compressor. And if you do spend that £300 or whatever on the software up front, making sure that the software does have good stock plugins, which they pretty much all do, then it's going to cut out the hassle of going to Waves and buying a separate EQ plugin, getting that all activated. Essentially just spend £300 or so on a piece of software and use its stock plugins. In case that's not clear, stock plugins are plugins that come included with the software, and the quality of them nowadays is just spot on. So that's all you need. And another thing to consider with that kind of software, with that kind of either upfront expense, it can be a monthly expense. So the majority of places like Sweetwater Guitar Center in the US, or somewhere like Gear for Music or GAC if you're in the UK, else, wherever you are, there's going to be a music store that offers finance deals. So if you're over 18, you've got a job, then you can stick one of these pieces of software on finance for such a minimal amount of money a month. And it really is an investment. Once you have a good piece of software, you spend £300 on Ableton, that is absolutely all you need to start making music. I cannot stress this enough. There's a producer called Route 94, made a song called My Love. He made that, sat on his bed in his boxer shorts with a laptop and Ableton, and it was #1 for weeks. There are so many countless examples of this being the case. Skrillex, back in 2007, whenever he was, absolutely blew up on the dubstep scene. That was with a laptop and Ableton. I will never, until the day I stop breathing, keep stressing this. I will always be an advocate for the fact that a laptop and Ableton can make professional music. You just need to learn how to use it. So number 3, once you've got your computer sorted and once you've got some software, the next thing is you're going to need to listen back to what you've made. Now, the 2 options for this are either headphones or studio monitors. And I'm going to break down the pros and cons of both. In a nutshell, headphones are going to be cheaper, but they're not going to be quite as good if you're producing like electronic music. It's good to reference your bass on some monitors, but we'll come to that. And then monitors are going to be better. They're just like these ones behind me, but they're going to be more expensive. So for the first year and a half of producing, I used headphones, specifically this pair of headphones. They are Beyerdynamic DT770s. I bought them within 6 months of starting producing and still use them pretty much daily to this day. Fantastic investment. I think they cost me about £100 and they've been fantastic. Like, they've got me through the first couple of years of university, mixing purely on those. And as I said, as long as you learn what you're doing, and the thing is, you can play a song that you know is a professional song and just reference and mix your track to what that sounds like on the headphones, and then you're golden. So I'm definitely a fan of people mixing on headphones to start with. I couldn't afford monitors to start with, and it's not going to hold you back. So headphones to start out with, because they're nice and cheap. Learn how your headphones sound by referencing professional tracks, and you're on your way. Moving on to studio monitors like these ones behind me. People like KRK and Yamaha, like the ones behind me, are going to be a fairly substantial investment up front. So anywhere between sort of 250 to 350, maybe £400. It's a lot of money, and you can understand why I didn't invest in that straight away. I'd rather just £100 pair of good headphones. And it's not something that everyone could afford to do straight away, but it's not something that you need to do straight away. So work your way through on headphones. When you can afford studio monitors, upgrade to them. Keep an eye out on Black Friday. There's always deals going on. And again, as with all of these things, you can put them on finance from somewhere like Guitar Center, Sweetwater. And that's the basic thing. So my main point with studio monitors is that you don't need them to start with, but get them as soon as you can afford them. Number 4, we've got our computer set up. We've got some software. We've got some headphones or monitors to listen back to. And now, arguably the most important part, and the part that most people miss, is a plan to learn music production. The way that my brain functions, the way that I can visualize things and understand things, is through analogies. So here is an analogy for why this last point is so important. If you want to learn painting, you can go out and buy the most expensive paintbrushes, the most expensive paper, and the most expensive stand to put your paper on, and a whole studio of art equipment. You are not going to make good paintings unless you learn how to use that expensive equipment. If you don't know how to hold the brush, if you don't know what kind of strokes produce what kind of effect, you are not going to produce good paintings. And that sounds so simple to say out loud, but the amount of people that buy Ableton, the amount of people that buy studio monitors, the amount of people that buy headphones, the amount of people that buy loads of plugins from Waves, but haven't spent a single penny on any tuition, on any sort of course to learn music production, or they haven't invested any time in like a YouTube video series or just YouTube tutorials to learn the basics of Ableton, the basics of Serum, the basics of what they're using, and just give up. The amount of people that do that is ridiculous. And then they just say music production's not for me. It's too hard to learn. I can't make anything sound professional. All of your money and your time has been spent buying this equipment. It's been spent looking at new equipment that's going to get you a better mix. Learn how to use what you've got, and that is going to propel you forward so much. So it's all very well and good saying that, but you've got bills to pay, you've got time commitments. You don't have time to sit down and spend hours and hours a day learning this kind of stuff. You don't know music theory, you don't have a background in this kind of stuff, you're not very technically minded. These are all things that are potential barriers, but they're all stuff that can be overcome. And what I'm going to do is lay out a little plan for you that anyone can follow. And as long as you want to do this, that's a key point. As long as you want to be able to make your own music, you can implement this plan and see such rapid growth over the coming months. First of all, you don't need to invest a lot of time in this. An hour a week is something that we all have spare, whether it's cutting down on a bit of TV, a bit of Netflix time, a bit of pub time. Put it this way, if Game of Thrones came back on from 9 till 10 every Monday evening, you would make time in your schedule to watch that. You would not miss it. Basically, it's an excuse to say you don't have the time. What that really means is that what you want to do that you don't have time for isn't a priority. If someone put a gun to your head and said, you have to learn music production, you have to spend 2 hours a week doing it, otherwise you're gone, I'm going to pull the trigger, you would find a way to do it. By hook or by crook, you would make time to do that. We all have the time. We prioritize things according to our habits, mainly autonomously. If you consciously make this a priority, you will find the time. Now, it doesn't have to be a set day, doesn't have to be a set time. You just have to have a rough idea of what your schedule's like. You have to sit down and be honest with yourself and say, on this day, I go and see my friends. On this day, I go to yoga. On this day, I spend time with the kids. But Thursday evenings, actually, I don't have anything on. So I can say, as long as I've got nothing on, I'll stick an hour of music production in there, just sit down and watch some videos. The return that you will see on that investment, if you do 6 months of doing 1 hour a week, that's 24 hours in 6 months. Like 24 hours of learning something is an incredibly long amount of time. That is enough time to get you from nothing to producing something really quite substantial. And that process motivates you to keep going. So the first 24 hours, the first 20 hours, I think it is, of learning something are the most important. That's where you see the quickest progress. It's the most fun to do. It just means maybe missing out on something like that extra episode of House of Cards. I feel like I'm starting to ramble and flail my hands and get a bit off topic. So I'm going to come now to the fifth bonus point. And I think it's quite an important one, actually. I think having a reason why is a really important thing when you're doing anything. Simon Sinek, you might have seen him, he had a viral video recently about talking about millennials. And basically, Start With Why is a book that he wrote. And it's a really important concept, actually. I think because it's going to take a little bit of commitment, because it's going to take a bit of time and money investment, you need to have something that you can look at and say, that's why I'm doing this. You can confirm why you're putting all this effort in. And whether that's, I want to play a track out, I want to have one of my tracks played out in a club by a DJ, and I want to see people dancing to something that I've been on my laptop doing at home in my bedroom. I can tell you there's not a feeling like it. I've had that, and it makes all of those hours worth it. And just visualizing that is a really powerful thing. Visualization's a massive thing. Look at Tony Robbins, he massive advocate of that. But basically, have a reason why. So, as I say, whether that's getting your track played out, whether that's getting a track on a label, whether that's just sharing something that you can show to your parents and your friends and family so that they go, oh, wow, yeah, you're good at this. And that, again, is a feeling that nothing else quite compares to people realizing that you actually have invested time and effort into something and you've developed a talent at something. Like, it's a really good feeling. But whatever your reasons are behind it, maybe make a note on your iPhone, or you can even go a bit more to town on it. You can make like a Word document with some photos of stuff. Sounds a bit dorky, but whatever you need to do, just make sure that there's somewhere that you can look someone that you can go to, or even just a mental note of, that's why I'm doing it, so that when your friends call you up, when you're just about to sit down and do this kind of thing, and you have to say, no, I am doing some music production stuff, in your head, you're going to have a voice saying, just go to the pub. You can do this a different day. If you've got that reason why, if you then think, actually, this track's coming along pretty well, and I want to get it played out in a club, you're going to sit straight back down and you're going to carry on working. So, have a reason why. There we go, guys. Sorry, I got a little bit flaily and passionate about that kind of stuff. It is something that I'm genuinely passionate about, and until my dying breath, I'm going to keep telling people that you don't need a lot to get started in this. You just need the right mindset and the basic equipment. So if you found this video valuable, then please do leave it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. If you've got any questions, leave them down in the description below. Also, I've popped some show notes and bits down there that I haven't included in the video, some useful resources, so be sure to check that out. If you have enjoyed this video, then feel free to subscribe if you want to see more of it, and I really do hope to see you guys again soon. Take care.